Good morning. Listen, we're going to try to do something a little bit different than we have in the past. This is not going to be a sermon from me anyway. However, as most of you are very much aware, the world has changed quite a bit. And I think that it is good stewardship for every pastor to try to pass on to his congregation a way to protect themselves in times of trouble. And so what we're doing today is we're starting a series of messages about how to prepare for the future, how to pack away groceries, how to have an emergency kit. And today we're going to talk about 72-hour emergency kit, something that you should keep in your house, a place that you can go and find it when you need it. These are times of trouble all around us, but there is no need for us to panic, but it is a need for us to prepare. I believe the Bible tells us that preparing is a wonderful, wonderful thing. I think that God intends for us to be, we should be smarter than the serpent. Gentle as a dove, but smarter than the serpent. And the way that we do that is preparing. Jesus said, I will keep thee from the hour of great temptation that shall come upon all the world. The way I believe he's going to do that is by providing for us in the lean years a time to put away things for when things are sad. So with that being said, we don't do anything around here without some scripture and prayer. So I want to introduce Brother Roger to you. Roger, come right over here by the Indians peanuts. I know you wanted the Reds peanuts, but these are the Indian peanuts.
Well, we won't eat them.
Why, but he's a good man. So he's going to have a few things to say. I'm going to step over here because I'm kind of like the I'm kind of like the encourager. Hold on. How do you feel?
Oh, we're good.
Okay, I'll get out of the way.
Ready to go. Pastor Baker is absolutely right. One of the things that we've done in our culture in the United States is about 85% of us live from paycheck to paycheck. So when disaster happens, a lot of you that are watching it now, you're not ready for it. And what we want to do, as Pastor Baker said, is we want to help you to be prepared when this kind of thing comes back on us. God forbid, but we don't know. And I think this is a real test that we needed, and I'm hoping it'll change our lifestyle a little bit and help us to see the urgency of how urgent things can get. And it says in Leviticus chapter 19, says, when you reap the harvest of your land, don't take everything up out of the field. Neither shalt thou gather the gleanings of your harvest. And you shall not glean in your vineyard, and don't gather every grape of the vineyard. You shall leave them for the poor and the stranger. I am the Lord your God, and you shall not steal or deal falsely, neither lie one to another. Now, one of the things that I want to point out here is that those that have, and are prepared, we want to share. We want to be able to help. We want to be able to give. But one of the things I think is interesting to me is they left the stuff in the field so that the people could go get it. So everybody had a part in it. Everybody had to labor some for what they got. And, it talks again, and this sounds a little harsh, but in Proverbs it says, go to the ant, or consider the ant, sluggard or lazy person. I'm not calling anybody lazy, don't get me wrong there. But consider her ways and be wise, which having no guide, overseer, or ruler, provides her meat in the summer and gathers her food in the harvest. How long will you sleep? O sluggard, when will you arise out of your sleep? Yet a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep, just taking it easy, not really doing anything to prepare for anything. So shall your poverty come as one that travails, and your want as an armed man. So what we have to do, this is not to be critical of anybody. There's some parts of our culture, we've just been trained to do certain things in certain ways. And so there's certain parts of our culture, and I have been guilty of it in the past too, of not being prepared for certain things that come up. But one thing that we need to change is our preparedness. We need to learn how to get ready for things that come. Over 50% of the world, when this kind of thing happens, it's already there. This is what they live every day. and we have been blessed, and we've been a little spoiled. So what we want to do, and I hope you hear this, and I hope you benefit from it, we want you to be prepared. And I want to introduce Tracy, Dr. Tracy Elder. She's going to be the instructor, and she's going to teach you how to do these things. Tracy?
Well, hello, everyone. This is a wonderful time to be alive. You know, despite everything that's happening, we know it can be a little bit scary, but you know what? The glory of God is still moving. God is still on his throne, and all is right with the world. And you know, we have the red letters to continue to guide us. And Jesus said that we should prepare as well. And he wasn't vague about it, about what we should do. So before we get started, we're going to go ahead and pray. So Dr. Baker, if you would pray, we can get started.
Father, it's again by your will that you allow us the privilege to call upon your name. Lord God, I know that we cannot go back the way we were as a church. Lord God, help us to move now more effectively than we have ever done before. Lord God, please allow us the privilege, dear God, to be your stewards. And Lord, teach us, open up our minds, illuminate our minds, but Lord God, also make us receptive to your direction. For Lord God, without you, we don't have power. We don't have wisdom. But when you come on the scene, great things begin to happen. I would ask you, God, to please bless Dr. Tracy today as she begins to speak. Lord, I'm very excited about learning how to prepare myself and my congregation more effectively for the future. Yes, Lord God, please bless us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen, amen. Okay, well, today we've got a lot of stuff to go through, and hopefully you're going to be able to follow along pretty quickly. So every one of you that receives this DVD, we also have a digital download of our 72-hour emergency kit with a lot more detail. So you can see in front of us, we have a lot of stuff on this table. This looks like a lot of food, and it is. But this, again, we need to take a look at what we need to do per family member in our households. And so as we begin to get started, we need to talk about the type of container that we're going to need. We know that we need 72 hours of food per person in our household, but how are we going to store that? If we're talking about an emergency kit, something that will be available when we need it. So this isn't stuff that we're going to keep on our shelves.
Did you miss me?
Sure did. This is stuff we're going to put away just specifically for this purpose. So what can you use? You can use a backpack. If if you're going to do backpacks, you probably should do one for each person. You could also use a rolling suitcase. If you've got a larger family and you want to just use one suitcase, get a large roller bag suitcase, you can use that. Or you can use a plastic storage tote. So looky here, we happen to have some buckets.
That's handy. It's almost like getting a loaf of bread out of the oven. It's already cooked.
Exactly. We want to thank Home Depot for the buckets as well. So they partnered with us to make this project possible. So this is a 5-gallon bucket from Home Depot. Okay, nothing special about it necessarily except for the lid. So you can buy all kinds of buckets. Any bucket will do, and most of them are not food grade, so anything that you put into these you have to have sealed in packaging, so you need to make sure of that. But what we want to do is we want to understand that anything that we put in here, the enemy to our food is light, oxygen, and several other things. We have mold and other kind of stuff like that to worry about or to think about. So we want to make sure that temperature is a place where we're storing it. The temperature is pretty well modified. But if you can look at this bucket, you'll see that there's a rubber seal on the inside. That's what makes this bucket special. It's the lid. So if you're going to be buying buckets from Home Depot or Lowe's, make sure you get the buckets, the lids with the rubber seals on the inside. Because what will happen is once you seal it, it will keep all of the air out. And that's what you want to do. And it's also very, very hard to open once you seal it, just saying, you know. You should see some of the times I've had to open some of these buckets. I've actually had to stand on them and pull. I'm just saying, when they're sealed, they're sealed.
And this would be helpful, too, for, some of you may have husbands or wives at home that can't stay out of the snacks.
Yeah.
So if you can't get it out of the box easily, that will help you preserve it.
Right. So you need to understand that once this gets sealed up, it's going to be sealed for pretty good. So that's one of the good things about this. So again, make sure you get the lid with the seal. Okay, so what we want to start talking about now is the first thing we need to talk about is what are we going to do for hydration? So we need to talk about water. You know, everybody talks about the fact that how much do I need? What do I need to do? Well, here's your rule of thumb. FEMA recommends that you have a gallon of water per person, per household, per day. So if you're looking at a 16-ounce bottle, you're going to need 4 to 5 of those a day. If you're using the 16-ounce bottle, same thing with a 20-ounce bottle. If you buy the gallon jugs too, you can do that as well. But water isn't something that you can store long-term. So we recommend that as you, if you're somebody who uses bottled water all the time, keep some back. You know, but make sure that you're rotating it so that you're always going to have water at the time that you need it. So you want to be sure that you're doing that.
Why can't you use the water, Dr. Tracy? I mean, it is sealed already.
Mm-hmm. Water in these bottles, again, the enemy is light.
Oh.
The bottles are clear, and even if you keep them down somewhere else, like in a basement or on a shelf in a pantry, over a period of time, there's still impurities in them. Even in the filtration process, they don't get everything out. So over time, you know, they talk about they give a best by date for water as well. So you need to be looking at those when you buy them, especially on the gallon jugs. You'll see a best by date, and water usually lasts anywhere from 8 months to a year, like that. And again, it depends on how you're storing it. So again, so you want to keep your water refreshed as much as you can throughout the period of time. That's kind of the biggest part of this, because one of the other things that we recommend too when we're talking about water is that there's other ways that you can store it too for your emergency kit. You know, we talked about the bottled water. Well, they also have water bottles made by Life Straw, and you can go to their website, that are filtrated water, that are filtration systems for water. So there's an actual Life Straw that you can get, or there's a family Life Straw kit that you can get, but each one of the Life Straws themselves, they cost like $19.99 on the website. It will filter 1,000 gallons of water per person.
Wow.
So each person has their own Life Straw, but that it also takes out the contaminants. So if you're outside and you have to drink water out of a horse hoof, like John Wayne used to have to do, remember? And Glenn Campbell in True Grit, yeah.
Used to just like lace it up, Missy.
I know. And so the Life Straw you could actually put in there, and it filters out bacteria, it filters out microbes, it filters out parasites. So you can go to lifestraw.com and you can take a look at those, and they have different options there. But you can also use water pouches. Those are the kind, they're like little bladders that you can actually hook onto your belt loop and stuff like that. They have those made, and they come in liter size and bigger sizes. They have the big camel pouches that you can put on your back in a backpack. But those are also known as bladder bags. But there are also water purification tablets out there that you can order online, or you can get in the stores. But they're just little teeny tiny tablets that you can put to 1 gallon of water. And if nothing else, if you have bleach, you know, a little bit of bleach, a couple drops of bleach in a gallon of water will also help to purify it as you go along too.
On the internet, there were people that were talking about drinking bleach. Them's really dumb people.
Don't do that.
Do not do that. We're talking about a very, very small amount of bleach in the water.
Yeah.
Not enough to whiten your teeth. You get it?
Like just a couple drops.
Yeah.
Not even a capful in a gallon of water. Okay, so if you're going to keep water in your car, make sure you're rotating it out again, because again, cars aren't climatized all the time, and you know, water is subject to the heat and to the cold and stuff like that too. So you want to make sure that if you're going to store some in your car with a go bag or something like that, that you're checking on it. And we recommend that whenever you change your batteries every year in your smoke detector, you check your kits. You know, your 72-hour kits, you check your water, you check your dates, that kind of stuff too. Food. Now, we talk about 72-hour kit. This is not a long-term survival thing. This is 72 hours. Your power goes out, your something happens that you have to stay home, like COVID-19, only COVID-19 is a longer food storage issue. But for 72 hours, something happens, your electricity goes out, your water goes out, something happens along those lines. You want to have things in your kit that you're actually going to eat. So, there's a lot of weird food out there that's for sale on the internet for 72-hour kits and stuff like that too. If you're not going to eat the weird food, don't buy the weird food. You know what I'm saying?
It's probably hard to store kale, isn't it?
Well, I'm thinking, yeah.
Yeah, so don't worry about storing kale.
Pretty much. So we're recommending for your 72-hour kit things like granola bars, Nutri-Grain bars, things like that, cereal bars, things like that. Protein bars as well. You want to have things like that. And we're talking about protein stuff too. Up here you can see that we have these big canisters of whey protein, and basically you can take 2 scoops of this and add it to a bottle of water, turn it into a shake, and you'll have enough protein and some nutrients to help get you through. You're going to still be hungry. There's no way you're not going to be hungry, but it will sustain you both ways. You'll be hydrated, plus you'll get some protein and sugar and some other nutrients in there. So that's always good. When we're talking about having to store a 72-hour kit, you may not be at home. You may have had to leave your home. So you have to think about being mobile when you're putting your kit together as well. What can you do from your car if you have to shelter in your car, if you have to go somewhere else? And it's really important for you to actually start to plan and think through this. Because if you do have to leave your home, you need to think about where you're going. And so you need to start to put that plan together, formulate that plan. So if you're going to have to leave your home, you're going to need some sort of something to cook. And if you're not going to be able to cook, you're going to have something that is readily packaged for you to eat for your entire family. So we do recommend the protein bars and the cereal bars. Oatmeal packets, you can add water to. Beef jerky is always a good meat substitute there. The thing about beef jerky is that it must be really, really dry. So if you buy like a great big package of, say, Uncle Mike's beef jerky from the store, it's a resealable bag. However, moisture can get in there and create mold and stuff like that too. So you want to make sure for your pack that you are sealing things up that you're going to be using for storage for this. So beef jerky you can store long term. If you have a sealer, if you have a way to take the oxygen and the moisture out of these things. So we're going to be showing you that in just a second. We're going to be talking about how do you use a sealer, or how do you prepare these things to place in your bucket or in your backpack. Peanut butter. Always a good thing. You can either get the snack cups. They have the little peanut butter to go things that you can buy right now. And again, they are subject to the Best By dates. And what you need to know about Best By and expiration dates are very different. A Best By date means that the flavor will be best by that date. It doesn't mean that it's bad after that date. It just means that it loses a little flavor after that. If it's an actual expires by date, it is no good after that date. And so we want to make sure that you understand that, because 40% of the food that's being thrown out is on the Best By date when it doesn't have to be that way. It's still good. And it's just like anything else. If you open up a can and it smells bad, or the can is warped, or it's got a hole in it, then don't eat that. You know what I'm saying? So we need to use some common sense when we're thinking about some of this stuff too. Freeze-dried meal pouches, those are always good too, and there's several different places that you could get those. Honeyville Grain is a great one. August Farms is another one, all online. You can order all kinds of freeze-dried products there, even freeze-dried eggs, freeze-dried milk, freeze-dried butter. All of those things are really essential. You can also buy them in large quantities. You can buy them in 50-pound bags and break them down, too. And again, that's for more longer-term storage, emergency food storage, but just so you know that those things are out there. Dried fruits and vegetables that you get from the bulk food store, also great. And again, all of this comes down to the packaging and the way that they're packaged. Meat in a tin or a pouch. So anything that's sealed like this, what you need to know is that there's a lot of shelf life stuff that goes on out there. So again, a Best By date does not mean that it's bad. So this is best by January 2023. Now this can of luncheon meat will last up to 3 to 5 years beyond that best by date. And again, if you have to use something that long into the future, make sure when you open it that you smell it, that make sure that it's not out of date. We also have tuna. Tuna is a great source of protein and omega-3s and all that other kind of stuff. You can also get canned ground beef, canned pork, canned chicken. And again, those are all things that you want to take care of. Be careful with the canned chicken and the canned tunas after the best by date too. You want to make sure that you're using them within a reasonable amount of time after that best by date, because salmonella or some other type of thing, or that you're preparing food properly. Your best bets are beef products, actually.
How long will Viennese sausages keep?
I've heard that they are like Twinkies, they may last forever. But however, there is a best by date on those as well.
Right, the low end.
Yeah, and so you need to look at the best by date. And again, shelf life on those would be 3 to 5 years after the best by date.
Nobody in my family likes Viennese sausage except for me, so I will survive.
There you go. There you go. Home canned food. And again, we have fruits and vegetables, and we also have soups and things like that too. The best thing for you to do too, if you can look for the ones with the pop top lids, that way if you happen to run out without your can opener, you might be able to pop the top. Yeah. But we want you to think about taking a can opener and stuff like that with you. We're going to talk about that. But there's also little things that can go right on your key ring called P38s or P35s. And they're actually the same can openers that the military use. And they're just a little thing that goes right on your key ring with a blade, and it'll open cans for you. Meat in the tins and in the pouches are good for beyond the best by date. You can see the meat in the pouches, like you'll see tuna in pouches now, and you'll see different kind of lunch meats in pouches. They'll last a little bit longer beyond the best by date. Canned ready meals like your ravioli and your soups, those are all really good. You want to make sure that you're taking extra water for anything that's dehydrated or anything that's freeze-dried or anything like pasta noodles or things like that. You're going to have to take extra water beyond your gallon a day. You want to make sure that you have some comfort foods for you and your family. We have some cookies here. We have some fruit snacks. We've got things like this too, but you want to make sure you have some comfort foods. You need to be careful with chocolate. Chocolate cannot be stored long term. So if it's in your kit and it's been stored there, when you're checking your kit, you want to take it out, like around that year mark, because chocolate itself can contain salmonella or something else, maybe botulism or something else over time. So you need to be careful of that. If it's all in the way that it was processed, and so you have to kind of remember that it can sometimes contain those kinds of contaminants. So you want to make sure. Other type of packaging that we're talking about too. When you're looking at the packaging for your stored foods, if you can see there, Lucian, do you see there this foil at the top?
Yeah.
Okay, when you're looking at them, you look at the top, you can see the foil. You want to buy packages that are in foil packaging. This, as you can see, is not foil, it's plastic. This has air in it, it's not going to hold up, this packaging is not going to hold up long term. It's also clear. You can see through it. And again, an enemy of food is light and temperature, right? So we need to talk about something that's completely sealed like this. So if you look at the top of your packaging, you can tell most of the Knorr brands, you can see that there's a silver strip at the top that it is in foil. Same thing with the Idahoan. And we are not getting any money from either one of these companies to say this, but we're just pointing them out as packaging.
We would not refuse it if you sent us something.
We're not representing any companies, but we're just saying that, the foil packaging makes a difference. You can store these as is inside your bucket for an indeterminate amount of time. There's a best by date on here as well, but these will last a very long time. You want to make sure that if it's got cheese or cheese in it, that it's the powdered cheese and not the cheese packets of sauce. for obviously reasons, right? Those cheese packet sauces are not going to maintain long term. So when we start to look at it this way, we've got a lot of food here that we would be able to begin to use. And again, we want to make sure that we have everything we need to be able to process and make this food. So again, a can opener would be very helpful, I'm thinking, if you're storing cans, right? It would be good too to maybe have some like camping plates and supplies, maybe something like that as well, you know. A canteen has is its own measuring cup. It's got its own measuring cup, which is exactly 1 cup of water or 1 cup. You can use it as a measuring cup. And here we have a little measuring cup because we're going to need to package some things ahead of time. So let's take a look at what we need to do to package some of these items. And we're also going to talk about hygiene and what we need to do. Now, what does a Pringles can have to do with hygiene? We're going to show you here in a minute. We're going to surprise Lucian with some things in there, just saying. Okay, so we've already prepared a couple of things for you by packaging them. And what we wanted to show you was what it looks like when it's packaged, but also the packaging process. So we do have a vacuum sealer here. Now, this is the rotini type of sauce or pasta. What you need to know about this is that when you go to vacuum seal this, you're going to find, now Lucian, right here and right here, you feel those hard little, they over time, they will break through your sealer. So when we're looking at packaging these types of things, if you're going to do this, you can package them inside it's packaged. Just open the top, put it in the sealer itself, and it has less likelihood of popping through.
You're talking about opening this
Yes,
package when you put it in there?
Yes, and the reason for that, it gives you an extra layer so that, you know, when you feel these really sharp edges, you have a more likelihood of this lasting over time if you do that. You see what I'm saying? So make sure, you know, but you also want to make sure that the package on the outside is very, very clean. So before you store it in there in an open way. Because, you know, a lot we handle this bag.
Plastic, could you wipe it down with alcohol?
Yes, you could. Yes, you could. And the beautiful thing about it is that, you know, we have these different products that we can use to wipe this down. An alcohol wipe, a Lysol wipe, something like that. You want to make sure that the bag is really, really dry before you put it in here. But you want to open the end. You don't even have to open it all the way. Just open it enough at the corner so that the air will come out and get vacuumed out. So, so that way you can see the difference. So this bag in here will give you a double layer of protection so that those little hard things right there don't break your seal over time. Because the more it's handled or the more it's pushed around in the bucket, the seal will break eventually. So you want to make sure that you do that in the back. Now you can see here that we have some peanuts in the shell. These will last a good long time too, as long as whenever you're putting them in the packaging, you look really good, sift through it, make sure that there aren't any little buggies in there. Sometimes, you know, in the packaging process with things like this, sometimes they get little.
I heard the bugs is good for protein.
Well, so are peanuts, but I would rather not eat the shell or a bug.
Okay.
So, you know, so you can either shell your peanuts if you want to and put them in there, or you can just put them in there like this. I figure if you're out on the road, you're going to have to deal with bugs anyway at any point in time. And just saying, you can do with that what you want. That was free. But these are the Red's peanuts, Roger, so you can eat these.
So these are dry.
Yes.
These are dry things. Let's say that you had something that, I'm just going to mention this just in case. Let's say that you had some nuts and that are outside the shell, and perhaps maybe some phyllo dough and some cover the whole thing with honey.
Baklava.
You know, honey lasts forever.
It does.
And if you seal it, would the baklava live?
It would if you prepared it properly, as long as it was properly cooked, and as long as it's dry. So I would probably not put the honey on it while it is in the packaging. I would probably save the honey for later.
The important thing is here, even in the times of trouble, if you can get baklava, the world is okay.
Everything is fine. Everything is fine. So
Would you like for me to stand over here? So
actually no. So you picked up the cereal there
Yes.
for a second. Now, one of the things about this is that once we put these things together, okay, what does this mean? I have this thing right here. So we want to make sure that when we are packaging something, that we put the serving size on it. So we know that there's 2 servings in that bag. The other thing that we want to do, Lucian, for me, why don't you put the date on there that we packaged it? So today's date would go on there, and then we're going to put another date on there called a check date. Today's the 7th.
4/7/20.
Okay, now we're going to put a check date on this for 2 years. So 2022. Because that dry cereal packaged like that will usually last in that package about 2 years as long as the seal remains sealed. You check it in 2 years. If the seal is not broken, then it will actually last longer. So what you're checking for is, did it open, did it soften up, does it feel squishy? If it feels squishy, then it's no longer viable, okay? But as long as it's like this in 2 years, then you can put a new check date on it. Okay, so you can do that with any one of these. So our peanuts over there, here we go. There's 7 servings in there. And we put our date on it for today. And then that one is, we're going to check everything. And again, whenever you check your batteries at the beginning of the year or end of the year, make sure that you're checking your stuff here too. So you're going to put a check date on that one for the same 2-year period of time. And as long as it's not open, chances are we're really good here. Okay? Now, our pasta, we've got 8 servings in this, and each one gets 3/4 of a cup. So that's what we're doing. 8 servings, 3/4 of a cup. Now that one you really want to check in a year, because again, it's not double bagged on the inside of there, and chances are that one may give because of the little holes that get poked in it from the pasta itself. So you can use a different type of pasta, like these little teeny tiny elbow macaroni. They have a tendency to actually do better in the bags and not poke through, even when they're vacuumed. And so stuff like that too. Now, mac and cheese is also a good thing to have. You don't necessarily have to seal these, but again, it depends on how you're storing it. If you're storing it in your plastic tub, you can leave it in this wrapper. If you're going to be storing it in a backpack or in a suitcase, you might want to take all the ingredients out and vacuum seal it, and then cut out the directions for it as well. One of the reasons for that is because the backpacks and the roller bags are not sealed. So there's air getting to it, there's other things getting to it, and moisture may get into it as well. And as you see, this is a paper box, so moisture will affect the box if you don't have it in a plastic container sealed. So those are things that you need to think about. So for you and your family, you want to start planning for portion sizes. Now, when you look at the things on TV and they tell you, 160 portions for, 72 hours. Well, what they're explaining to you is what's on the side of the bag. So this one has 2.5 servings per container. So there's 2.5 servings in here. And so the serving size is 1/2 cup. So when this is all together, you're only getting, so the same thing goes into play. This 2.5 servings is what they're talking about in the buckets too. They're not talking about 160 meals. They're talking about serving sizes. So on the packages, that's what you're looking at. So you see those serving sizes there, and you know what you're going to have. So this is 8 servings per container for this. And so you know that you have 1/4 cup servings of this per person. And so when you're rationing food, which you're going to have to do, you want to kind of stick to the serving side. You are still going to be hungry. Anybody doubt that? We're living in the supersize me world, so we're going to still be a little hungry, but how you do it is important. So, having said all of that, we wanted to show you a little bit about how to seal a few things, and we want to talk to you about the hygiene kit, and then we're going to put everything in the bucket, and we're going to seal it up for you, and that's what we're going to do. So, Lucian, would you like to learn how to seal a bag?
You know, this is a very technical piece of machinery.
It actually is not.
Have you seen me do anything technical?
Well, I've seen monkeys do this, so I'm thinking maybe you might be all right.
A monkey.
All right, so basically you have this is a food saver model, and again, not receiving any money from them, just saying. All the models are pretty much the same on how you use them.
However, if you are from Food Saver and you'd like to send us some money, I will accept it. It's the preacher in me. It's like taking up an offering.
There we go. So this food saver model, it is plugged in, but as you can see, there's no power button anywhere on that, but there is a power light. So basically what you have to do, once you unpack it and you put it all together, it comes with a roll of bags that are not pre-cut. You have to cut them. Now inside, each one of these food savers has a way to cut your bag. And so what you do is you lift this up, you pull your bag through. So Lucian, I'm going to show you this the first time, and then you're going to do it. So we're going to make a bag. See the little lines on here? Okay. So we're going to make that size bag. And these lines help you line it up so that it's as straight as it can be. Then you hold down, you push really hard on the cutter, pull back, and then you have a bag.
Okay.
Okay, now what we want to do is we want to seal our bag on one end so that we can put something in it, because as you can see, it's unsealed on both sides. So what we're going to do, you see this little reservoir right there? That little thing that looks like a trough? You're familiar with troughs, right?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So any farmer is familiar with, there's a little trough. So we stick the end in there, you push down on this. Now, what I want you to do for me is I want you to take this handle and I want you to push it all the way forward to where it says operate. There you go. Now you see our power light comes on. Now what we want to do, this is dry food, right, that we're going to put in this, because we're going to put pasta in it. So we see dry or moist. So we want to put dry food in this, right? So it's on that level. Okay. Now what we want to do is right now we can't vac and seal because both ends are open. So we need to seal one end. So we would push the seal button. Now we just wait. And it does this little thing.
You don't have to hold the thing down?
Nope, it does it all on its own. And then while that's sealing, we're going to get our bag ready. So we're going to take this bag of pasta.
Wipe it down first, make sure that it's nice and clean.
Correct. Now it's done. So push that back to open, all the way to open, lift up, and what do you have?
Sealed bag?
You have a sealed bag.
Monkey.
You're doing so good.
Doing good here now.
So you want to hold that open.
Okay.
So with this one, we're not going to have to double bag it because these are the little teeny tiny elbow macaroni. We're going to go ahead and pour these directly into our bag. Now what we want to do with this, we're going to take it from the sides and we want to make it as flat as possible. Okay? And again, what do we do to seal it? Okay.
Put it in the trough.
So put it in the trough there. Make sure it's as flat as possible. There you go. Push down on your lid. It's as good as, yep, that's good. Now, all the way over. Now this time we want to vac and seal. So we push the other button. And we let it do its thing.
Does it always make that noise?
Yes, it does.
We done?
Not yet.
No.
Wait till the lights go off. Because it's sealing. It vacuums, then seals.
This is very exciting.
There you go.
I'm now opening up this.
Now, does it feel hard or does it feel squishy?
Oh, it's very hard
There you
and no problem at all. And as you can see, I have done this with my own hands.
It's a good seal.
If I can do it with my own hands, you can do this at home.
Now what you want to do is you want to look at the bag that it came out of, and we're going to write on the tape how many servings and what size
8 servings, half cup.
There you go. So you write it on the tape, and then you put the date that you wrote it, that you put it in there.
8 servings, did I say, half cup? Half cup. And I'm going to put the date down. Take out my handy dandy tape. Put it on the bag.
And voila. And you can do the same thing with pancake mix. If you look on the back, you know, it tell you how many pancakes. So if you did 1 cup of this, will make 6 to 9 pancakes. So you would portion these out into smaller bags. So you would have enough for 3 days or whatever you needed to do. And you need to make sure that you have the ingredients with it as well. So that's what you would do. So you would measure these out, make the bags the right size for them, because the bags are, you know, you can make whatever size bag that you needed for each one. And then things like this too, you want to store these in a vacuum sealed bag as well. All of these together, you can make one big bag, and you can seal them all in there together, call it snack bag, and you can make one for each day. For your family or per person, however you wanted to do that. So basically, and then with the cereal and stuff like that too, you can start sealing. So I tell people, you know, if you want to start doing this, if you've already got your cereal at home, buy an extra box of cereal on payday, or use a half a box and let your kids eat the rest right now, and start sealing them as you go. It doesn't have to be that expensive to do. And it also will keep you reminded on how to keep rotating your stuff too, reminds you about dates and things like that. Also, you want to make sure you have nutritious stuff as well. Go ahead.
A question about this. Are those bags expensive?
It depends on how you buy them and who you buy them from. There are some generic bags out there too that aren't as expensive as the name brand ones, but yes, they're more expensive than a Ziploc bag.
Okay, so the thing is, you need to understand that this is an emergent type of situation that you're putting this food away. So yeah, you're probably going to have some more expensive upfront costs. That's because of the fact that you want to make sure that it's preserved. So when you think about that kind of thing, it is a good investment on the future. You know, and I really believe with all of my heart that in the very near future, we need to understand with the things that are coming upon the world, we ought to be prepared. So invest in food. I think it'll do you well.
So now that we have our stuff together, we want to talk about how to store things in the bucket. Now again, this is a 72-hour kit. So if you're one person, then you need to think about yourself. What do you need for those 3 days? If you're a family, you need to be thinking about what you need for your entire family. So sometimes it's easier to put several buckets together that, you know, that have, you know, a 3-day supply in them for adults, a 3-day supply for children, and then you can just grab the 2 buckets when you go. So either way. But for Lucian, what out of this do you think you would store in your bucket?
Well, now it's very difficult for me because of the fact that I have a lot of other difficulties. So I would probably choose a different food source. The peanuts, certainly peanut butter, yes. But as a diabetic, I would also try my very best to make sure that the foods that I chose were more low carb for me and my family, and then the rest of my family, of course, I would store the regular foods. So I would certainly use the protein because I'm going to need protein, and that doesn't have any of the carbohydrates, and I'm glad that she put something else in the Pringles because I like Pringles, but I can't have Pringles, and the macaroni and cheese. So I would look for stuff that would help me, but then you should prepare for yourself, especially if you have medical conditions, but you should also make sure that you understand that there are other people in there and they're going to want to eat what they like to eat. So you really want to make sure that you're not only just preparing for one, but you consider the entire whole and who you're going to be making food for.
A lot of the Glucerna bars and things like that too for diabetics, and replace those cereal bars with Glucerna bars as well. So there's
delicious Kind bars.
Kind bars as well, yeah. Again, not getting any money for any of these brands.
However, since I eat Kind bars all the time, the people from Kind ought to be kind to me.
We're just saying. Okay, so we're not going to be storing the box in here. We would be storing a bag. of those. So we want to make sure that we would have enough for 3 days. So we would have 3 pouches of the pancake mix in here. We would have 3 days of snack bags in here. We would have several of these. So we have rice and potatoes, either one. And again, you can store them for what your family is going to eat over those next 3 days. And so we recommend putting in just a little bit of it, and just a little extra one, and as we go along. So what we want to do with our bucket is we want to put the canned goods in first, because they're going to not crush some of our other stuff if they're on the bottom. So, your meat source are usually your biggest cans, unless you're doing like tuna. So we have a pork one, and then we have a ground beef. So you can add those with noodles at any given time too. You can also cook these over a fire in the can. That's another thing about having canned goods too. You can reuse the cans for cooking too. So we like our ravioli, right? And we like our soup, right? So we've got all that in there. We want to make sure as we're putting it in there that we are consuming as much space as we can, putting them together as neatly as we can. So making sure that we're stacking things in there to make sure that they fit properly is a good way of doing it. So we got some fruits and we got some veggies. If you want dried fruits instead of these, that's great too. Beans are always a great staple for anybody in a disaster. They've got lots of protein. They've got what you need to help you get through. It's got some carbohydrates in there as well. So beans will last forever too. That's another thing. So dried beans too, even better, but they're much harder to cook on the fly.
But with each serving, they also have 6 carbohydrates,
yes.
Or they have dietary fiber of 5,
yep.
So you can remove that straight from the overall carbohydrate content. So fiber is really good for you.
Yes, absolutely. And what he's talking about is the glycemic scale. Anytime that you have fiber and sugar or carbohydrates in something like this, you subtract the amount of the fiber from the carbohydrate, and that gives you that other number he's talking about. So
I think you should make sure that the fiber content's at least 5 and above. Mm-hmm. If it's below 5, it may not be a very good accurate count. So make sure there's 5 and above.
Mm-hmm. Then what we want to do is we want to package our prepackaged items in there. So you're going to actually kind of use them around in a circle around these other cans. So again, we're trying to make use of the space as best we can. Now what we want to do is any box goods that we have like this, we want to stick in there. Then we're going to stick this other little can. We got some tuna, all that stuff is in there. Now what we want to do too, before we put our packaged stuff on the top, we want to make sure that we have what we need, right? So we got all these stuff in there that we need. So we decided we were going to go with dried fruit instead of canned fruit, so we don't need to put that can in. Whey powder we can just grab, because we need to leave it sealed. It's perfect already the way that it is, and it will last a good long time. So as long as it's not open and you leave it on the shelf, it's going to be okay. So you want to grab that too. That's not going to fit in our bucket though. So we've got all of this stuff. Now we want to put in our sealed stuff. So you want to make sure that when you're doing this, that you have, that it's kind of like Tetris that way, you know what I mean? So, and again, this is more of a family, a larger family. So we would have our snack bags and stuff in there too. So we would make sure we're having everything stored as best we can. So since this is a larger family, we're going to have 2 buckets. So we would have actually a large staple bucket and a bucket with the stuff for the kids in it as well. So that's what you want to do. So you want to make sure that you have everything that you need. And then again, you're going to be watching your water and hopefully have it with you as often as you can. So it's up to you how big you make it, it's up to you how many you make, but we recommend that you have at least one, and you're gonna need some other stuff too. You're gonna need a flashlight, you're gonna need some matches, or a lighter. No, don't buy the cheapest lighter you can find though, because they will ultimately fail. So get a really good lighter. If you're out on the road and you need a fire, we always recommend that if you get one of those metal chore boys, you know what I'm talking about. They've got a little bit of magnesium and stuff with them. You can use that. Hook your battery cables to the chore boy, or your jumper cables from your battery to the chore boy in a pile of wood. It'll start a fire pretty quickly. Wasn't that nice?
Chore. It was good. Chore boy. Not only difficult to say, and you can't say 5 of them really fast, but I don't have any idea what a chore boy is.
They are the metal scrubbers that you get for pots and pans. Not the copper ones, they're metal. They're steel wool.
Steel wool.
Steel wool will also work.
That's a chore boy.
Yeah, steel wool will also work, yes.
Impossible pour moi, avec Noël, qu'est-ce que c'est? Chore boy. I know.
Yeah, most of the ladies out there know what they are. So, but again, if you hook your battery cables to a chore boy and a pile of tinder, it will start a fire.
It's good to know.
Good to know, yes. So those are all
Do
things.
not tell your children this.
Yeah. Make sure you do have toilet paper, but you don't have to go crazy. Please don't panic for it at the last minute, like right now. Please kind of just have some on hand as you go. Because, if you have to leave your home, okay, are you going to really need 96 rolls for 3 days?
And if you're in the woods, God has prepared everything you need. Just look at the trees.
We're just saying. We're just saying. Watch the nettles.
Yeah, watch the nettle.
Watch the nettle.
Poison ivy should not be used.
Probably not. So one of the other things you want to consider is a hygiene kit. We recommend that you use Pringles cans. Again, not getting money from Pringles. Just saying, we're talking about things that you have on hand. The reason we say use the Pringles can is because on the inside they've got a foil layer as well, which helps to cut down on moisture. And please you can go online too and buy the moisture packets. Those little things, those little silica things that go inside, you find inside your stuff. Buy some of those to put in these things. And this one, Lucian, go ahead, it's like Christmas. What's in there?
Our first item in the big is a sewing kit. This would be very advantageous. And matches. So you got in this little container, you got a sewing kit, you got thread, needle, matches. Here we have
the top of
the toothbrush. Should I've gotten the entire toothbrush out, then I could have put the top back on it, and it would be, there you go. See, that's much better. A toothbrush. So if you have a toothbrush, the next thing that you ought to consider is toothpaste. Huh? See, we're a full-service organization.
We're just saying.
And then we have this delicious item, which is
shampoo.
Shampoo. And those of you that don't have a marker on it, it could be any kind of shampoo. Mm-hmm. So, and that's helpful though, because if you get your nasty hair. And then we have a bar of basic hypoallergenic soap that has been dermatologist tested. But soap is soap. Get some soap and clean yourself. Mm-hmm. So we got all of this in this. I'm probably going to be in trouble next week.
I'll help you out there with that. But where we got this stuff, just so you know, it doesn't have to be all that expensive. You can go to Dollar Tree. Again, not getting money from Dollar Tree, but Dollar Tree has these, including those little containers there for the shampoo and stuff like that. They have them there for $1. You can get 4 of them for $1. You can get the toothpaste for $1. You can get multiple toothpaste for $1, multiple toothbrushes for $1. We get the big bottles of shampoo for $1. I mean, they're like the great big ones. And then we break them down into those smaller containers to fit inside our can. So you have your own hygiene kit too. Because as we found out too, during this pandemic, there are no body wipes to be found. There's no wet ones anymore. So you might want to think about, creating your own little stash of, soap and water. because we're
And you
going to need it.
can make, if you can get some of the products, you can make some at home.
Yes.
We'll cover that at a later time.
So, we've hoped that you kind of gotten some information out of this, and we've got more to come. And again, this is your 72-hour kit for emergencies. And again, it's up to you what you put in it, but these are the basics. So we want you to be blessed. We want you to be well, and we want you to continue to thrive. And we want you to share this with people too, because this is a great way to share the gospel. Share food, share the gospel, and make Jesus the center of all this again. So, Lucian, if there's anything else you'd like to say?
The only thing that I would like to add to this whole entire thing is remember that stewardship requires us to think about tomorrow. I believe with all of my heart that it's just not over yet. Not only what we're going through right now, but God is sovereign. And I think He's told us in His Word that we ought to prepare. So let's make sure that we do. And I hope you learned from this today. And whatever I said that may have been farcical, let's face it, those of you that go to my church know that that's my brand. So God be with you.
Next time we're going to be talking about your cargo bag. Okay, so hopefully you'll join us next time. This is Dr. Tracy with the International Alliance of Chaplain Corps, and Dr. Lucian Baker and Pastor Roger Tickle with Set Free Ministries. And we wish you well, and we thank you so much for joining us. God bless.